All right, so this is me. I'm super nervous. Do I need to be here? All right. I'm learning. I don't do that many talks, so one thing about not doing a lot of talks is that you don't have a lot of prepped material and you don't have a lot of practice, and all of your stuff is new. So yeah, like I've never spoken on failure before. 2 years ago or so, I spoke at Brooklyn Beta, and it was right after I had left Supply, and my dad had given me good advice to take notes about what I had learned, and I just shared some of them, and about half of them were about failure. And I think that's why Tina thought I'd be a good fit, and it's fair, like I am, well, okay, so hold on, I'm getting started here. I don't want to get started yet. So, before I get started, first things first, there's two things that are happening. Okay, two things are happening. This is the first time as far as I know, this is the first time I will officially be filmed and put online. So I'm like, it's just interesting to me. Well, it's also an opportunity. So then the other thing that's happened is that a couple weeks ago I had my 10-year wedding anniversary. Sorry, but I just feel like if I'm going to get up here and talk about failure, and I've had a lot of it, I don't know where I'm being filmed from. I almost want to like. Right up here, buddy. All right, so I just Kristen, thank you. I couldn't. I would like need another one of these to like talk about her. And I'm totally cheating by doing this first. But no, anyway, I thank Kristen, thank you, I love you. And everything I'm going to talk about has a lot to do with her. And she's not going to be mentioned, but she's there. So that's it. I mean, that's out of the way now. So, intro. See, the thing is, I want to walk around, but then I have this thing, and then I have this thing, and then I'm like, I just don't think I want to do it. So we'll see how this goes. So content. So this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and do a really quick intro. Whenever I go to presentations, I just like to know, like I don't know how many of you know who I am, and that's cool. And like I'm just going to try and talk real quick, and then a history of my failures, and then like what I've tried to do with those failures. And most of this is riffing, and I kind of just have an outline. So, oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I need to start a timer. I am not good at staying on time. Well, I'm still going to do it. I appreciate it, but I'm still going to do it. All right. Okay. All right. So, here we go. I'm Ben. I have 3 kids. I've lived around a lot. I moved around a lot. I'm from Iowa. I grew up in São Paulo. I've lived in Chicago, and I've lived around the country quite a bit. Lived in New York a couple times, lived in Brooklyn, lived in Westchester. But now I'm in I'm in Ipswich. I try and not say it, but like you can find me. Like, I'm not hard to find. Anyway, I'm in Ipswich. It's like an hour north of Boston. I'm on the coast, and I'm married, and I got 3 kids, and I've like escaped, and I'm in a pretty good spot. Ipswich is like farms and beaches, which is. That's my sales pitch. You should move there. I mean, I love it there, but I love New York too. Like, I really miss New York, but I absolutely love Ipswich. It's just beautiful there. There's a lot of open space. And anyway, so I've been designing for about 10 years. I should have graduated in 2004. I didn't graduate because I had 3 algebra credits that I didn't do until 2009. Technically, I'm class of 2009, but I have been working for 10 years. This is recent stuff. So I started as like logo design, I would say, is probably like my true love, or at least it was. That's where I started, I would say. And then book cover design. Did a lot of online experimentation. You'll see some of it, like ReadyMex and like I grew up in Brazil essentially, and then the internet was really one of my first forays into just we just idolized American culture, but then the internet was like a chance to participate. And I think I was hypersensitive to what that meant. And anyway, the internet is really crucial to what it means to me to be a designer. And I decided like online projects are just part of what I do, even though it's not exclusively, hopefully, what I do. But anyway, this is all mostly recent stuff. Like Internet Land is the top left. That's my studio. That's how I make money now. I'm just a freelancer. Very Goods is, we'll talk about that. Hessian was a brand I tried to sell. Or I did sell it, but haven't talked about it too much. Varsity Bookmarking is a magazine that I do. It's you can only answer with links for minds we admire. It's coming out again in like 2 weeks, hopefully. Really excited about it, hopefully. Anyway, Supply, we'll talk about that a little bit. And then Lookwork is a visual RSS reader. But anyway, these are all like projects, and then my role in these is generally like I'll have an idea, and I'll reduce that down to something that's like that you can actually talk about, and then I'll usually have like a couple developer friends that I just like to hang out with, and then I'll ask them about it, and then if one of them is interested, then I'll work with them on it. And like the ideal team is like 2 people, where I'm one of those. And like developers are, I get along with them very well. Like it's just to get like I really like sci-fi, and it seems to go well. So it's just a good personality type. I mean, I'm not smart enough to be a developer, and I don't mean that as like a bad thing about myself. I just don't have the mind for it, I don't think. I mean, I do and I don't, but I'm horrible at math. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I guess really all I'm saying is that none of these are just me. Like Very Goods is me and Fictive Ken. Internet Land is just me, but that's by design. Like Internet Land, hopefully for as long as possible, will be just me. And then, well, doesn't matter. And then as of recently, I'm the creative director of Electric Objects, which is a new art display platform and community. And I'll be doing that for a couple months, and I'm trying to replace myself. So if there are any rad creative directors in the room, look up Electric Objects and see if it sounds interesting, and then just Electric Objects in my name, you'll see a job post, and we're going to do great things. I'm really excited about Electric Objects. I think it's going to be good. The team is no joke. Anyway. Okay, so moving on. History of my failure. My failure and my failures. Should have been plural. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to walk through them sort of. I don't know how much I'll say, but it's a combo, you know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going. Oh, that's. Hold on. Oh, good. That one looks better. Well, something happened to my cropping. It doesn't look as nice. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so this is I think this is reverse chronological to some degree. So this is FWIS. FWIS was my first design studio. Started it while in college, and then when we left college. I know I keep getting closer and stuff. I'm sorry. FWIS failed because personality conflicts and a lack of paperwork. And when we were ready to split ways, it just went really, really badly. And I'm trying to only talk about failures. I'm only trying to talk about the under part. Book cover archive is another thing that I did with Eric Jacobson. I would call this a failure. It hasn't updated in 2 years. Started in 2008. The reason book cover archive has failed is because I didn't design it in a way where it could keep going beyond my own personal interests. It wasn't designed in a way where it had steam beyond my input. And it's a solvable problem, I just didn't anticipate it. And when I switched from book covers to supply, like essentially to startups, I just lost interest. And then over that time when I lost interest, it broke. And then when you're not interested and it breaks, then that's a bad recipe. But we are working on bringing it back, and I think I have a solution for expanding past, it's a very useful, well, I'm not going to get to why it's good. I'm just going to talk about why it's bad. And why it's bad is that I didn't do a good job designing it. Lookwork is an ongoing project. It predates Supply a little bit. It's a visual RSS reader, and it's broken. It's been broken many times. Like we've tried to launch this thing 3 or 4 times now. It's just me and Eric again. Me and Eric Jacobson, super rad dude, lives here in Brooklyn. The most recent version has failed because it's confusing. You get there and you're like, what is this? The interface isn't especially obvious. The back end is very fragile and breaks pretty often. And the revenue model was too ambitious, and we didn't take time to fix it, and now it's just broken. So it's just, but it's there. You can go see it. And well, that's a good thing that I'm not. So supply has failed. Like, well, you know, what's nice about all of these is that I think, oh no, FWIS has failed. But these other ones there's a lot of question marks. Whereas supply, it's like, well, we know at least in a week or supply will have failed officially. So there's an end date, which is, you know, there's some nice resolution there at least. Supply failed because it sold to eBay. And supply failed, but supply failed because, I mean, this is the thing of Brooklyn Beta that I think, I mean, it failed because of I was selfish, and it failed because I was scared, and I didn't want to give up the CEO role because I didn't understand how to fix the product, but I knew that I didn't want someone else to do it, and there were other people talking to me about how I shouldn't give it up, but in hindsight, like it's like you look at like something like Fancy, and it's clear that the right kinds of personalities can really drive this sort of thing a really long way, and it would have done better by everyone if I had done better by it. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons that supply failed. Some of the more interesting ones I would say are like what happened to the product, like at a design level, and maybe I can talk about that later. There's just a lot to talk about. I mean, like the too long didn't read version is I think when we opened it up to the public is when it failed. I think after that we didn't know what to do with it. It was like we took off an important appendage of its personality. Anyway, we can come back to that. And then varsity bookmarking, I did 5 interviews last year, and then it's been a year since it's updated. So part of the overarching theme here that I'm going to try and approach is just, well, when you're asked to talk about something, it's like, well, you have to come to an opinion on it. So it's like I've experienced a lot of failure, but what do I really have to say about it? And one of the things I have to say about it, I think, is that it's not really much of a thing at all. It's mostly a point of view. And I'm going to be doing some switcheroos. Where like at this moment in time, if you were to ask most anybody in the audience, they're like, well, what's up with varsity bookmarking? The general vibe would be, well, it's a failure. Or like, I don't think anyone necessarily use that language, but it would be in that vein where it's like, well, it hasn't updated, I think it's probably broken or something like that. Whereas if you time shift, you know, that's a nice thing about science fiction is it gives you these tools to just like, well, our reality isn't super great at the moment, so let's just like go over there for a little bit, and how do we get over there? But if you time shifted to the future, then the failure will no longer look like a failure, and time is very subjective, and give yourself time and you'll be surprised at how you feel about something. So anyway, we'll come back around to overarching themes. Oh, so now we get to personal failures. So we're still on the list of failures. Those were project failures. Now we have personal failures. Poor salesman. Oh yeah, so we can talk about supply some more. So, well, and then also, so supply, when we launched supply, we didn't know what a startup was. It was like in 2008, 2009 that we were working on it. When it came out, it was like, it's just a project, like one of many projects. We took funding, and that went well because Zach Klein was involved, and he's just a dream. And it was a hot product. Like it was it could have been the one. So the first time that we took money, it was pretty easy. But then the Series A, I failed. That was like a year and a half later, where I had to go back out and I had to convince people to give us more money based on our experience for the last year working with their seed funding. Like that's what a seed is. They give you enough money to just try it for a while. But then Series A is you have to be answerable for the money that you've taken. And I was not able to be convincingly answerable for the money that we've taken. So, and a lot of that is just my personality. Like I'm just I'll just tell them. And also I didn't understand the product. Like, and so all of the growth metrics, or like any way to grow it, would have been like a pattern that had been learned from somewhere else, you know? And I'm just not into that. Like I like a product to succeed for its own reasons. And then since then I've tried to raise money. Like I've had conversations, just brutal conversations with people about like, hey, is this like, the nice thing about doing a startup is that you develop relationships with VCs and just people that have more money than you're used to, at least in my case. And you get to ask them, it's like, hey, does this seem like something that people would be interested in? And sometimes that can lead to something more interesting and sometimes it can't, but you can be more pushy, or you know, there's different levers you can pull. But there's sometimes when I'm just straight up and like, hey, I want funding for this Sense supply, and it's just awful. Like I'm just bad at it. And it's crazy because you just see people raising money left and right, and you're pretty sure that your ideas are better, but you know, I think a lot of it is just they're looking for a personality type, and I'm not that. So, oh, and then also I'm just broke. I'm just broke. Like, I mean, it's worth noting, like, I'm showing you all this stuff, and it may or may not seem like a career worth having, but note that I'm, on a lot of very reasonable metrics, I am no success. And I am a failure on those in a very real level. I don't expect that to stay the case, and if I did, I wouldn't be doing it. But it's worked out pretty well for me, like never being too tiered down to making a ton of money. And then also not taking equity for things. That works well for me too. Anyway, Well, I'll say this. I've worked with really, really smart people for 2 years now. Like since Supply, I've been freelancing, and I've worked with really intelligent people, and I've worked with a lot of companies. Like I'm just freelancing for a lot of companies. That's what I want to do, 1 to 3 month contracts. And I'm offered equity fairly often, and in my case, I would just rather have cash, and I have never regretted it. Like I've never had an Instagram moment, and that's not to say anything about the people. Like it's just really, really hard to do well. So I've had people ask me, like, do you take equity? It's like, well, no, I don't. Like my equity is invested in myself. Like I just kind of assume that eventually the projects that I'm working on the side will do well enough that I don't need other people's equity. So anyway, I'm not doing failure talk here. Procrastinator, there's a good one. I spend a lot of time not working. I spend a lot of time not working. And it's always been that way. And it's something that, it just, you can have a really hard time with it if you allow yourself to. And there's an entire industry built on how to make yourself more efficient. And I think it's not a knock on any of that. It works for some people and some people it doesn't. And as someone who has tried a lot of it, I know in my heart that I am a procrastinator. Well, we'll get back around to it too, but like, it's just a character flaw. Like when you're under the gun and you need to get stuff done and you're not the kind of person that works well under a gun, or I don't know, it doesn't matter. I just spend a lot of time. I think I have a graph. Yes. This is, I don't know how accurate this is, but this is how it feels for sure. This is how it feels for sure. If I can get a couple hours of work done on a day, then it's a reasonably good day. If I can get work done all day, then it's a miracle. And it's like, it's just one of those great days that lifts up a whole month, So, I was thinking about this on the way over though. I don't know, it's sort of like climbing a mountain, and I was just thinking, there's some exceptional views on mountains and such, but you really don't achieve the great view until you've done all the work to get to the top. And you don't usually hang out at the top for that long anyway. So, I don't know. A part of what I'm trying to do with stuff is ignore a lot of what we've been taught. And I'm trying to apply that. Like I'm trying, you can see where this presentation is going. Like I'm listing out my failures, and then you'll see what I'm gonna do. But it's like, a lot of it is just how we define stuff. So like procrastination is a word that is loaded, and the way we think about how work should be produced is loaded. But the metaphors that you use are important. And so like if I start working, thinking about work as climbing a mountain, well, sure, I'll get to a peak once a day. That sounds okay. I don't know. It's a new thought. So generally, I'm bad at things. There's just this list got long. There was just a long list of failures, and I think what I'm trying to say about things is like there's a lot of things that you need to be good at generally to run a successful company. Or like if you're listening to me talk, I just kind of assume that you're interested in launching projects, or you're like into startups, or I don't know, whatever. You know who you are. But it's just like keeping a schedule, keeping a calendar, making sure people are paid, making sure people are happy, talking to investors, getting new clients, answering emails diligently, customer support, being convincing to investors. Like there's a lot of responsibilities, and some people can do a lot of them, and some people can only do some of them. And the sooner you know which ones you can do really well, the better off you'll be, because you know that you need to supplant yourself with the others. But that's cheating. So anyway, there's just a lot of things I'm bad at. There's just a ton of things I'm bad at. And I'm also lazy. Like I don't like doing things that I don't want to do. Which really, like it's mostly I'm talking about like a project where if there's parts of the like really detailed wireframes, like I'm not a good guy for that. I'm not a good guy to do that, man. And you can feel that way about yourself, and you're like, oh, I hate doing this. I hate it. And I felt that way a long time about the stuff that I hate doing. But there's another way to look at it. So here's some applied thinking. So like that list, like lazy, you procrastinate, you're bad at things, you're a poor salesman, you've had all these failures, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's a reasonably accurate description of my mindset when I left Supply. So I got out of Supply and it was just like, man, fuck that. It was like really, really hard. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And it didn't amount to much. Like the main thing that I got out of Supply was experience. It was knowledge, and it was just there was just a lot of experience, and there really wasn't much else to show for it, other than like and then the intangibles like reputation and such were nice too, but it was just a lot of like head stuff and not too much else. So And I was cranky. Like it was like, we moved to New York, it was hard on my family. I did a lot of work that I hated doing. Board meetings were just the worst thing. I just hated board meetings, and you had to have them every month. And, it just wasn't, like, trying to resurrect a dead product and then lead a company and then trying to raise money. There was just so many things involved and so many parts of that that I was horrible at. And there were people telling me I needed to quit my job. And my family just wasn't really digging Westchester too much. And I got out of it, and it's like, that was just too much work. Like, I did something wrong. Like, to try that hard and then for it to amount to so little, like, there's something wrong with my mindset. And so I mostly just tried to start over a little bit. Like, I just agreed, I was like, I'm not gonna take any partners for a while. I'm not gonna take on a job. I'm going to zero out as much as I can and just sort of, mostly I just want to do things I'm good at. Like, you know, to supply, like, there wasn't a lot of designing going on. The designs that we came out with, like the stuff that Alan did with the iOS app was great, and that Nate did too. But the web app, like the redesign of the web app was, eh. So I started reading some new books. I started trying to let go of a lot of assumptions. I only started to work on things that I was interested in. And I just kind of started to try and build up a new angle on what I learned and what I wanted to do with myself. And it was also like responsive design had come into fashion when I was at Supply, and I hadn't learned how to do it. And so like the design world in general was intimidating. I had kind of lost a lot of my chops. Anyway, this isn't a great list. It's gonna, I mean, it's gonna, this is just like, and if you do it chronologically too, that's kind of how I started to go about it. Alan Watts will come back in at the end of the talk. How am I on time, by the way? That sucks. All right. Well, at least we're getting started on the tail end. All right, so like it was just just this process of trying to invert my thinking and walk away with something useful from what I had learned, and then also just to not do the hard stuff anymore. And if something feels really hard, then how am I looking at it wrong, or how can I avoid it? Do I have anything here? Yeah, so essentially what's wound up happening is I'm going to go back through that same list of failures, and I'm just going to talk about how, if you look at them through another lens, they're not failures anymore. So for poor salesmen, not being able to raise any money has essentially, like when I don't know if this is a very unique experience, and I would encourage all of you to go through it, where if you're trying to design a product, if you're the kind of person that wants to launch a project or a product, imagine designing it and launching it with $500,000. Like you're gonna be able to get VC money, and so you know who you're gonna hire, you know who your first 3 developers will be, and you know who your et cetera will be. And you know what your first 3 product revisions will be like. And then try and do the same thing, but know that you won't have any money for the next 3 years. But know that you're gonna get to the same place. Just assume that you're gonna figure it out. Take it as a given that you can do it without money. And then see what you do. Because I've gone through that a couple times now with products where it's like, you go to invest, like, man, I can show you some examples, but generally you gotta have faith. And then they're like, no, and then you still wanna do it. And it can be really interesting to see what happens to your ideas. They get a lot better. In my experience, your ideas get a lot better when you don't have the indulgence of extra stuff. And money gives you time, and time, well, anyway. So not being a poor salesman has made me scrappy, and I'm okay with that. Failing with FWIS, like I said, it failed out of personality conflicts and lack of paperwork. So now I know what personalities to avoid, and I also know what paperwork I need to get in place. Like Kristen warned me from the very beginning to stay away from this, and now I have a personality type that I know that I just need to stay away from. It's mostly assholes. I really enjoy, well, I try and be practical as often, well, I really enjoy hanging out with assholes. Like, just like people that are sort of like funny and grumpy and just like, I'm just attracted to it. Anyway, so like generally, like that big list of being bad at things, I'm never gonna get good at those things. I've listened to enough Merlin Mann podcasts, and I've tried enough like OmniFocus things, and I've run enough teams and companies at this point to know that I'm very uncomfortable leading. Like, there's ways that I can do it, but I'm gonna do it my own ways. And if that's not going to work, if I don't have time or money or whatever, then I just need to figure out a way to do it without it. And what that's led to me is partnerships. So like with Varsity Bookmarking, I'm working with Mike Fay, and he's managing himself, and it's been fantastic. And for stuff like Very Goods and for Mind, which is another project we're working on, Fictive Kin has been just amazing. Like I get to do the stuff I love, and they do the stuff that they're great at, and it's been a phenomenal partnership. And I wouldn't have gotten to that if I just assumed that I could handle all that stuff again. Like you can grunt your way into a lot. No doubt, and if you're a good grunter, then you can get far with that. But I'm not a grunter, and I just don't. There's just other things to think about. You know, that's like the opportunity cost of how much energy you put into this, like the forcing yourself to do things. Like if you could apply that same energy to what you love to do, then what you love to do will get a lot better. So Book Cover Archive, yeah, but it's still really useful. It gets a ton of visits, and the people that visit it, like a lot of times they see it for the first time. It's like this crazy database, and it's full of beauty, and it's hard to give yourself too much of a heart. It's like a Mitch Hedberg joke about a broken escalator. It's like, sorry to be useful. You know, it's like, so you know, can't be too cranky about it. And procrastination has been a really interesting one. It's just like, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I've had enough failures and successes and like information to come in where people are reacting and orbiting around stuff that I'm launching, and I've gotten enough feedback to know that whatever I'm doing, to some degree, it's working. Like, I don't have to give myself such a hard time. So if I need to not work a lot, well, okay, well, then just don't work a lot. Like, this is how it feels if you get caught up in it, where it's like, oh, I gotta get this work done, and oh, I gotta need work done, and oh, you know, it just sucks. And you're just, I mean, I get carried away in this all the time. But if you have faith that when you're on the downside that there's gonna be an upside, if you know that this is just part of the process, well, then you can just kind of give yourself over to it. And it's different, it's a different feeling. And you can approach things with more confidence. Like I've learned a lot more confidence with client work, and I'm just like, listen, I'm not gonna do, there's just a lot of things you want me to do that I'm not gonna do, but the stuff I do, it's gonna work out really well, and also don't hassle me, because I promise I'm working as hard as I can. I mean, you have to work as hard as you can, that's just sort of a given. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just a different, and this is all just, these are just mind games, you know? It's like, if I just have faith that what I'm doing is okay, I've done this you know, I've almost missed a deadline every time. I turned in this presentation this morning. You know, every client job, the client's annoyed with me. Generally speaking, that's almost always the case. It's very rare that I surprise a client. I'm not good at client relations. I'm not good at meeting deadlines. I'm not good at most things. But when I deliver, it's the best thing I can do. And having faith in that, it's like, well, you have to develop your own rhythm. I guess that's part of it too. Like, you have to enforce your own rhythm. Like, you can't. Like, I don't really keep a calendar, and I don't get a lot of emails anymore on purpose, and like, I don't take a lot of meetings. Anyway, well, is that all I had to say about that? Yeah, so faith and rhythm. So you have to, like, and then just for me, it's helped out. It's like, there is something to have faith in. Like, whatever wave I'm traveling on, whatever medium we're traveling through, that is, like, I don't know what that wave is, but I know I am it, or I know I'm on it. And to know that this is going to be working out, and then to have that established over and over again, where it's like, okay, this is okay, and then to have it be okay. It's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to have faith in with this, but the faith is there. And then the rhythm part is almost the same thing. So look work, yeah, it's like super broken. But I use it every day. I use it multiple times a day, and the people who use it, well, there is a small, obsessed group of people that love it, and when it's broken, they're really upset. And that's worth a lot. Like, that's really cool. Like, there's not that many, I have not built that many things that have, like, really happy users when it's working. So, you know, at least I have, you know, and also I use it. Like, if I didn't make it, it's a flood. It's a flood of all, there's thousands of blogs in the system now. And all of the images they post anytime go into this flood, and so it's just like a brain dump. It's amazing. So this one's been really interesting for me, is lazy. Like, I am lazy. Like, I'm not lazy in the sense that I don't want to work. I love to work. I want to do my best work. I want to do, like, great work. I just don't want to do the stuff that, you know. Well, I kind of been through that, but it's like, well, what does that mean? So in my case, like, practically speaking, I had this experience where I had just done look work, which some of the new aesthetics sort of are in this vein. So, like, you got the rainbow, and this was one of the first times I had tried out this kind of aesthetic that I'm pursuing more so now. And then I had another project, and I was showing it to Alan Yu, who's my buddy and who I always show stuff to, and he's like, you know, you're using the same red, right? I was like, and I had used that same red on supply too. So I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to change it though. He's like, yeah, but it's a different project. I was like, yeah, but I don't really want to change it. And from that moment, I've essentially just given myself permission to steal from myself. And so from project to project, and internally and from client to client, I'll basically just, I've learned to, like, I'm not going to, and then that's supposed to be black on the end. I forgot that there would be a matte, so I should have inverted those, but it's rainbows and blacks. That's kind of my, anyway. So like I'm gonna work within that general spectrum of color. I'm gonna start there. Like I'm not gonna, like I always try different fonts than Apricot. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I've learned that it just complements me really well, and I don't really necessarily want to find something else, because if you hired me, you've seen my stuff, and I'm gonna get, like, I'm not gonna reinvent myself every time, because, well, what I've realized about style is it's you acknowledge what you're interested in, and you focus on what you're interested in, and then you explode it. Like you make it larger by virtue of your focus of interest. And so by not allowing yourself to have a style, you are essentially saying, well, I have to be interested in things that I don't really care too much about. I mean, I guess you could be interested in all of it, but so like the stuff that all of my stuff now, since I've started to borrow from myself, like generally all my fonts are this, all my color spectrums will fall within a general vein of here. Like RGB specific, I don't like, if you can see it in print, then I don't want to do it. Optimistic, like I realized that recently, like I'm very optimistic, and I think my designs are fairly optimistic. Like they look kind of like, yeah. Anyway, like, well, I feel very optimistic about the future, and I think there's a place for that, and I think it's as much of a style as like grunge or goth, or like they can make you feel a certain way, and so anyway, and I use as few fonts as possible, one if possible. One is ideal. Well, one font, one size is like the holy grail, and I've been pursuing that. Electric Objects right now is one font, one size, and then mobile first aesthetics really just means one column, and again, like I approach these with all of my stuff now, and eventually I'll launch a new portfolio, and you'll see like all of my projects, they're in the same vein, and I've started to, and what that's allowed me to do is I get to think about other things. So when I don't have to worry so much about like, does it look like me or does it look like something new that I'm giving them, you get to think more about the business model, or you get to think more about like how the product's going to work, or you get to push yourself in ways that are very specific to how you want to push yourself, I guess is really all that means. And then supply was a failure, but it yielded very goods, which I'm really nervous about doing it again, and I'm really excited. Like being given the opportunity to do it again, like to have a failure come back around, and then to have people say that it's okay, and like we'll trust you, and that you can have another shot. It's pretty. Well, I'll leave it at that. I mean, yeah. So I guess that's it. That's it. Well, I feel like, oh no, wait, no, that's not it. I had something. I'm sorry, yes. Okay, so, all right, so hold on. So the overarching thought here is that failure is a matter of perspective. Depending on how you apply it to your own work and to the way you think about yourself, you could come to different outcomes. It's worked really well for me. Like, I don't have a lot to show for it necessarily. I mean, I hope to soon, and I mean, if maybe what I'm doing now is worth showing, and et cetera, but it won't. Giving up on feeling guilty about stuff all the time has worked really well, and I guess I associate failure and guilt. They're both concepts. Failure especially. So there's this, if you guys saw Her, there's this part towards the end where they bring back to life the consciousness of Alan Watts. And he talks for a little bit. Well, I was introduced to Alan Watts a year ago by a buddy of mine. We were talking about stuff we were reading. He's like, oh, well, you would be interested in Alan Watts. So he gave me this book. And I read the book first, and I hadn't heard him. But I've listed the book. The one I would recommend is Alan Watts' the book. I don't know how I would take it if I had just gone straight into it. I mean, it's excellent, so you'll probably do fine. But he was a real dude, and he was a philosopher back in the 60s and 70s, and he introduced, my understanding is that he took Eastern philosophy and he Westernized it in our ability to understand it. So he had studied Eastern religion his whole life, and then he brought it into a context that we would understand it better. And so all of his writings are sort of like almost like a dummy's guide to Buddhism or to Zen or to the Tao, or etc. So this is an audio clip of him talking about peaks and valleys that I'm gonna close out on, and then I think I'm doing a Q&A.